You ever wake up and realize your life's about to turn completely upside down? That was me, sitting at this rickety kitchen table, staring at a mountain of paperwork with my hands shaking like crazy. I was about to sign my name to a marriage contract that read more like a business deal. And believe me, I knew how nuts it sounded. 23 years old, agreeing to marry a billionaire I'd never even met. But my little brother, Tommy, he needed surgery, and my family was buried in debt, and that $50,000 deposit had already hit my mom's account. I didn't have a choice, not really, and you know what? Sometimes life puts you in a chokehold, and the only thing you can do is tap out and play along. The lawyer watched me like he was late for his next $1 million deal, and behind him stood this woman, Miss Porter, with eyes like a hawk and a suit that probably cost more than my mom's car. If you're having second thoughts, Ms. Williams, Mr. Reynolds has other candidates, she said, flipping her watch like she had somewhere better to be. The deposit will be withdrawn if you don't sign today. Like that money wasn't already spent on Tommy's treatment. Like I could just walk away. I asked, why me? And she just smiled, tight and cold. You match Mr. Reynolds' requirements. That's all you need to know. Like I was applying for a job, not signing up to be somebody's wife. But honestly, wasn't I? So I signed. The lawyer swept the papers away, not even letting me read the fine print. 1 year. 1 year of being Jonathan Reynolds' wife in every way the contract spelled out. And then my family's debts would vanish, Tommy would get the care he needed, and maybe I could start over. I just had to make it a year. That night I couldn't sleep. Just kept thinking, what kind of man buys himself a wife? What did he want from me, besides someone to stand by his side and smile for the cameras? The contract said I had to play the part in public, live in his mansion, attend parties, keep up the show. But it also hinted at wifely duties, which left a knot in my stomach. I just told myself, 1 year, I could survive anything for 1 year. The next morning, a black car picked me up before the sun was even up. Mom tried to convince herself, and me, that maybe Jonathan was a good man, helping us like this. I lied and said I believed her. The ride out to the mansion took 2 hours, and when those gates opened, I just about swallowed my tongue. The house was massive and cold, like something out of a movie about rich people who hate fun. Miss Porter met me at the door, all business. Mr. Reynolds is away. He'll return this evening. She led me through marble halls filled with art I could never afford to breathe on, and then into a suite bigger than my whole apartment. Closet full of clothes in my size. Like he'd measured me for the role. Creepy, right? She handed me a tablet with the house rules and my daily schedule. Your first appointment is in an hour with the stylist, she said. Properly prepared before meeting Mr. Reynolds. Like I was some meal to be dressed and served. I sat on that big bed and cried for the first time. Just 1 year, I told myself again. 1 year. Henri, the stylist, circled me like a vulture. So much work to do, he sighed, and then spent 3 hours plucking, waxing, scrubbing, and dressing me in a black dress I never could have bought on my best day. By the time he finished, I barely recognized the girl in the mirror. Dinner that night was a performance from the second I walked into the dining room. Miss Porter drilled me on posture, small talk, and the one thing I must never do, ask Jonathan personal questions. When he walked in, tall, intense, eyes so dark they almost swallowed me up, my knees actually wobbled. Mrs. Reynolds, he said, voice low and smooth. Welcome to your new home. I kept my head down, tried to sound grateful, called him Jonathan, like he instructed. Then he hit me with, you may ask your questions now, in private. So I asked, why me? He said he needed someone with the right motivation, smart, but not ambitious, outside his circle. I hated that it made sense. Desperate people are easy to control, right? He explained his expectations. Be perfect in public, follow the rules, support him, respect his privacy. No fairy tales about those wifely duties. He said he had no interest in unwilling partners, that we'd keep separate bedrooms unless things changed. Relief, honestly. At least for now. The days blurred, etiquette lessons, wardrobe consults, briefings on Jonathan's business partners, endless rehearsals for how to laugh at boring jokes and use the right fork. At the Hamilton Gala, it was like I was a doll he wound up and set loose. Camera flashes, nosy questions, women sizing me up, men sizing him up. I just smiled and nodded, tried not to think about how weird this was. Then Victoria showed up. Ex-girlfriend, all sharp edges and pretty lies, warning me with a smile that Jonathan didn't do relationships. He did acquisitions. The warning stuck with me. Later, Jonathan explained she was a rival, out to dig for dirt. He told me not to trust her, and for a second I actually believed he cared. He even said I handled her well, and I felt this weird flush of pride. Days passed. Lessons, social events, always performing. One afternoon, I wandered into the art studio by accident, found the house's art teacher. Turns out, Jonathan paints. Real paintings, emotional and bold, nothing like his icy business face. He even painted me once, caught my sadness in a way I didn't know was showing. "You've been painting me?" I asked, kind of accusing. "You're my wife," he shrugged. "And an interesting subject." For a second, he seemed almost human that he invited me to Paris, his first real gesture. Said he wanted me to see something outside these walls. In Paris, things felt different. I wandered the city, finally feeling like a person again. That night, over dinner, he shared pieces of his past. About his mother, about losing her to cancer. For once, our conversation felt real. That night, walking by the Seine, he asked why I'd really agreed to all this. I told him about Tommy, about wanting a possibility, any possibility. And when he reached out, asked if he could kiss me, I actually wanted him to. Not because the contract required it, but because something real was growing in that space between all the rules. Back home, Tommy's treatments were working. He was getting better. I cried with relief. Jonathan was genuinely happy for me, arranged for my family to use his beach house so Tommy could see the ocean. He even started talking about amending our contract, maybe continuing after the year. But business got in the way. He was called off to London for a crisis, and suddenly I was back to feeling like an afterthought. 8 days alone. And who comes sniffing around but Victoria, with gossip and champagne and stories about all the other Mrs. Reynolds before me. She told me I was just the latest, the third in 5 years. "He doesn't do permanent," she said. It hurt. Even though I knew better, when Jonathan returned, we fought. He admitted the truth, that there had been others, that he'd always ended it on schedule. But then he surprised me. He said this arrangement had changed him, that he wanted more, that he didn't know how but wanted to try. He wasn't the smooth negotiator, not then. Just a guy, vulnerable and uncertain. So I took my time. Thought about what I wanted for once. Tommy's health was improving. My mom told me, "You did what you had to do, now you get to choose what you want." That hit hard. I realized I did have feelings for Jonathan. Maybe not the safe, easy kind, but something real, something messy. When I finally asked him why he'd really chosen me, he told me about the day he first saw me at the diner, about seeing how hard I fought for my brother, about how the contract was supposed to be simple, but became anything but the beach house. He ended the contract. No strings. Promised my family's security would never be a bargaining chip again. And then he asked me, not with a contract, but with his mother's ring, if I'd stay married to him, not as an obligation, but as a choice. Every day, for real. So what do you do when the man who once bought your time offers you his heart? You take a chance. You risk it all, because sometimes love sneaks up on you in the last place you expect, buried in the fine print, hidden behind schedules and rules and contracts. Now, we're not perfect. Far from it. We fight. We mess up. We learn. But it's real. The contract's gone. What's left is two people choosing each other, day after day, even when it's hard. And if that's not love, I don't know what is. But let's be real. Not everyone gets a story like mine. Not every contract turns into a partnership. So what do you think? Is love something you can plan for? Or does it just happen when you least expect it? What would you risk for family, for freedom, for the chance to be loved for real? Let me know, because after all this, I honestly want to hear what you'd do.